I don't think it's about shouting, trying to control. I think it's about making sure that you value every child and you want them all to be involved. And I think that's really crucial to good classroom management, making sure that every child feels that they can answer a question, that it's safe for them to put their hand up.
What isn't classroom management, or what's bad practice in terms of classroom management, is to not be clear about your expectations, to assume that pupils know what you are thinking or what you are expecting them to do without telling them, and then punishing them as a consequence of what you think and not what they think. Now, it might be that actually your expectations are just the same as everyone else's, but there will be pupils that will play on that, and so being very clear, setting down your rules and setting your stall out first off, I think, is the most important aspect of classroom management.
I think the most important thing I would say to anybody who wants to come into a classroom is really to try and enjoy yourself, and understand that the students that you're going to be working with will probably be very interested in what you've got to say. Just try to be confident, and really, if that interest in that subject comes across, students will be fascinated by that and they'll want to learn more, and then be prepared to go off plan.
I think a lot of people that come into the classroom that perhaps haven't been trained as teachers often, think they've got to be really, really strict and they can't be themselves. And at the end of the day, I think young people are going to engage if they see a human being and are being treated like a human being. Getting them to line up outside before they go in is always a really good technique, and settle them down before they come in the classroom.
Have something for the students to read, something for them to look at, what we might call a fascinator or a hook. So you can do that through a story, or you can just have something up on the board, maybe a question. Look at this image. What does this image mean to you?
If you slow things down, even to tell people off, it can really affect the momentum of your lesson, the pace of your lesson. Keeping them engaged and on board is about making sure they've got something to do and keep moving it on.
Things that get them to talk to each other, things that get them to question, or activities that get them to do things. So as long as you can come up with activities that get them to actually, by the very word, be active, be doing things, then they'll be engaged and they'll be working quite hard.
Making sure that they have independence, so it's not all teacher-led. I think that's something that we as teachers and as I would imagine as lecturers and people coming in as an independent person, you want to fill the silence, you want to keep talking, because we're good at talking, but I think you have to let them do it themselves as well, hand over the reins.
Non-verbal communication is far better than stopping to tell that person off or to say this, do that. And it can be very simple things.
Clap once if you can hear me, clap twice if you can hear me, and that often settles. And I say it's okay to not have any questions, and I let them take a minute back, but rather than me asking them, I get them to ask them of the person sitting next to them, because they're often much more happy to talk to the people that are next to them often rather than you. And I guess it's building their confidence, constantly praising wherever possible, so that if they do answer a question, that's fantastic, that's brilliant. Has anybody else got any other questions? Because it often does just take one, and then it starts to cascade out. Or give them an example, model them an example question. So, okay, ladies, you haven't got any questions, but I'm quite interested in this topic. So make them feel like you're part of the learning as well if there's a reluctance.
Often if something goes wrong, especially if you make a mistake on the board, or an experiment doesn't work or something like that, if a student spots it, that's fantastic, and you can then just run with that, and there's a conversation, you can take the lesson in a different way. If they don't spot it, but you spot it yourself, it's always then good to say, look, something's gone wrong here. Can everybody see what's happened? What do you think happened? So every mistake, we often find that students don't like making mistakes because they don't like to be wrong. But actually, it's a really important process of in learning. So when things do go wrong, and they do, I would always build it into the lesson and try and use that to improve.
Don't panic. Don't worry. That everyone's got to go into a classroom for the first time at some point, including every teacher, and that they will understand but to be reflective about that and to make sure that you take on board advice and any criticisms that teachers have, because they are the best people that you can learn from. And that's been the case for all of us. We didn't walk in being brilliant teachers.